Hey guys, finally getting to it, painting the Hive Tyrant that I did that video showing how to magnetize a while back. This was a big project, it took a while, especially because I wanted to treat this as like a centerpiece and put a little extra work into it. And it took me a long time to get this video edited, that's why it's a little longer than usual, but hey, let's get right into it. Obviously the first thing is, since I fully magnetize this thing, I want to be able to have bases for both leg options. So I went ahead and bought a pack of, I believe it's 60mm bases. I forget exactly how big it is. It might be a little bigger than that. But of course I only needed the one. But the first thing I'm going to do is get these legs, get the flying legs and the standing legs glued down. And then after that, it's the first step, which is, this is already primed black, obviously. Is I'm going to go through and do a nice, quick coat of black just to make sure all the nooks and crannies are coated properly. Sometimes it's hard to, get every little detail, every little spot, sprayed with the aerosol can. So I did what I was able to, but now I'm just going to go through, make sure everything is actually got a little layer or something on it. As well as there was a couple parts where I had filled with some putty that you can still kind of see through the primer a little bit. And now this is going right into starting the base coat. This is the same as I've been doing on all my previous Tyranid videos. I start with a dark gray mixed with black and do a very heavy dry brush, almost a full coat, about 85% coverage, 90% coverage on all the flesh, skin kind of parts. And I actually do most of it with the dry brush itself, just some spots it's easier to do with a regular brush. And I'm going to go through and do that with all the different the legs, do it with the wings, everything. Getting the tail, just pretty much everything except for the armor parts and the claw bits. The armor is going to stay black, which I also have to clean that up and repaint that later. And then the claw bits are all going to be metallic. We'll go ahead and go through do that on the wing. And on this part, because it's early on and it's a couple layers of dry brushing, I'm not too worried about being super clean or neat with it. Just trying not to create too much work for myself later on, but not really caring. Because like I said, the first layer is most coverage, just leaving black in some areas and some little recess areas and a couple joints and stuff. And then what I'm going to do is just basically step by step, just lighten the color up bit by bit. So here it is after just that first dark gray. So you kind of get an idea of what we're working with. Then I'm going to do the dark gray by itself without any black. And then I'm going to mix that dark gray with the lighter gray. And then do the light gray, each time doing less and less coverage, just to where that light gray I'm just barely getting the outer edges in a couple spots. Here's all the other parts. I kind of jump around on which parts I'm working on. Some parts I don't really show much work being done, but I'm trying to do it on everything. So this is doing one of the later coats here where I'm just being a lot more careful. So hitting some of the larger flat areas, but not trying to fill anything in. Leaving the edges. So I'll go ahead and get this all done, and then after this it's going to be cleaning up all the black so we can move on to other colors. This is kind of a mostly monochrome thing, paint job, but there are a couple other colors that come into play that really pop. So here's these. I believe they're done with the gray. Some of the really large smooth areas I try to leave some black spots here and there, maybe do a little stippling instead of just going straight coverage, just add some texture and all that. But here's that main body. And the next step, which I already started on the wings here, is going through and, like I said, cleaning up all that black. So you can see here, this wing's kind of half done on this side. In this area, it does take 2 coats to kind of do it in some spots, especially with these larger flat areas on the wings. And of course, touching up all the little claw bits and stuff too. So I'll go ahead and get that done and move on to the next thing. Also, I gotta do it on the weapons as well. And then we'll move on to the next kind of main color. once I get everything all cleaned up. This is the legs, obviously, all cleaned up. I decided to leave the spike bits on the thighs black, but a lot of the other spike bits I'm going to do metallic later. And anywhere where it's supposed to be gray and I get black on it or get one of the other colors on it, I'll clean that up later on. Here's the heads. And I believe we're getting ready to work on the metallics. Yes, starting on using lead belcher here. Decided to go with that. It's a little bit of a darker metallic than what I've been using. A lot of the other Tyranids that I've done, I've mostly used the bright silver. I did try doing some edge highlighting with the bright silver, but I didn't really, it's not really that noticeable, so I just ended up not doing it. I just kind of did it on the one test piece being the sword, and didn't find it was noticeable enough to bother doing on everything else. Plus, I did buy a special effect paint, which we'll see at the very end, that kind of cover up most of it anyway. Then I'm gonna go ahead and go through and get all the talent. So it's all the blades. So there's 4 swords for the Swarm Lord, as well as the big sword for the Hive Tyrant, and then I do like these little like claw teeth bits on the tails, as well as the little talons in the back of the calf as well as a bunch of other little sharp bits here and there. Make sure to get these like front ankle claw things. And I did the actual like bottom section of these feet, these like talon feet. And of course all the little claws on the actual wings themselves. I went ahead and got all those as well. I believe there's like 5 on the top and then 6 at the end of the wing finger bits. Then I'll go through and actually get that proper coverage, just kind of pointing them all out here. As well as the end of the gun here has some like knife blade bits. I'll get those as well. There at the top and bottom. And here it is all done on the wings. And the legs as well, so you can kind of see what we were going for. And here's that whole rack of parts again. Two heads, the Carnifex arms, the big sword, the ends of the whip, Swarm Lord blades. Now we're going to do Catachan brown. What is it actually called? Catachan flesh. As our primary brown. I'm going to do this on these like fleshy bits that attach to the guns on both of them, as well as the actual flaps of the wings. This is the same thing that I did with the Tyranid Prime that I painted some months back. That was the first model. Actually, the second model I did, the first Tyranid model of the Combat Patrol. And I'll also be doing that on the Parasite of Mortex when I get to that. Hopefully soon. That Brutalis Dreadnought's been taking a lot to do. It's very tedious. But hopefully, I won't be able to get any painting done this weekend, unfortunately. But I'll hopefully try and get something done during the week. And we'll also do the whip as well, because it's kind of like the fleshy bits that attach to the guns. And these little bits that are attached from the forearm to the hilt of the swords. It kind of matches the little brain thing that's on the top of the back of the main body. So I'll be doing those as well. And here is the wing. I did take 2 coats. At least, maybe if not a little more, to get real good coverage. Here's the gun, like I was talking about, the fleshy bit that attaches to the actual weapon. And here's one of the blade hands, which also did a little bit on the inside of the elbow as well. So now, to kind of break up the brown that's on the wings themselves, which actually first I'm going to do a little test build. Oh yeah, there's the top part. I do this a couple times throughout this video, kind of showing like what it's looking like so far, so everyone can get like an idea. Just like a quick little build, throw a weapon on, throw the wings on it, so you can kind of see like, which with something like this where you have like a bunch of magnetized bits, I do recommend doing that just so you can like throughout the paint, just so you can see like how it's coming along and like where you want to add colors and like how it, like, just so you can get a better vision of what it's going to look like when it's done. But yeah, this is looking pretty good so far. I mean, this is probably my favorite model I've painted. Definitely of the Tyranids. Absolutely. You see here, I got this flat earth brown. It's a much lighter brown, so I'm going to mix a little bit of that catechin flush with it to just darken it a little bit. And I'm going to use that to kind of highlight all these holes in the wings. Make it like they're scars. I'm going to put some like kind of star patterns on them and lines to make it look like these are like, you know, holes from fighting and stuff like that. Like it's bullet holes from like a bolter or something. So I'm basically going to kind of do the ring around, and then I'll add some kind of lines on the areas around it. See, it's just something to break up all that flat brown. And here's this wing kind of pretty much done. And I'll give it a side by side with the one I hadn't done yet. So you can see it just like helps break up the flatness a bit. And there we go, I got the other one done as well. I also went and added some, while it was still wet on the palette, to the tubes on the guns as well. Just to, again, just to break it up a little bit, add a little something. So now we're getting on to the green. So, on this little brain bit, I start with a moot green, and then I go over it with Eldari Emerald contrast paint to give it like a really alien kind of fleshy looking thing that's like radioactive looking almost. I also do this to all the sword hands as well. We'll just real quick to show it on here. Do the moot green first, and it doesn't have to be a perfect coat either of the moot green, just like when I do my Dark Angel's armor, just get most coverage, and then come over with the Eldari Emerald, which is like a very blue toned kind of green emerald color. And just gotta be real careful not to try not to get it on the brown, which of course I could just go back with the brown and fix it, but trying to save some time by not being messy. And there you kind of see how with the green undercoat it makes it more green and I don't know, just kind of radioactive looking. Pops really nicely with the brown and the black. Next I'm going to do the same thing to the these tube things that go from the forearms to the blades. I'll do it on all 5 of them. And then I'm going to do just some moot green by itself on the actual heads. And I'll show everything done at the end. So the first thing I'm going to do here is these veiny bits. There were some veins on the psychophage. I did the same thing too. Or just with the moot green on its own, just real lightly. They are like 3D enough that you can just kind of hit them pretty easily without actually making a mess. And there's some on both sides of both heads. And then I did the eyes out of focus on the other one, so I'm using this one, which of course I do a little messy and have to clean up. hard to keep this thing in focus, man. I gotta maybe start working in a manual focus. And I just kind of touch up those cheek areas with a little bit of black and gray. Just to kind of bring it back to that dark color. Blends really easily. And while I'm working on the heads, I'm going to go ahead and do Screamer Pink for the tongues. And then I'm going to go back with that Lead Belcher for the teeth. That's the only place where I use the Screamer Pink is on the tongue. The two tongues. Because there's two heads. So I also did the green on the guns as well, leaving like the more armored looking bits black. I did this as well with the barb gaunts, which are like the mortar termagaunts. Just kind of going through some of the parts here so you can kind of see. Here's also with that sword arm. And let's go ahead and get another little build done so you can see now that we got some more color on there. So now we're going to do the Swarm Lord. I did kind of all the arms at like a slightly different angles. Kind of in pairs too, where they're like a little more out and two where they're a little more in. And you can kind of arrange them however you want because it's all the same weapon. And that's where we're at with him so far. And here's a winged version of the Hive Tyrant built. Again, just kind of showing a little progress where we're at. And of course I got that angle on this sword a little weird. It's kind of hard to get it in there right. Make sure we get the wings in place, and here we go. Nice, another little progress. Still some work to do, but we are getting there. Which the wings are pretty much done. There's nothing else really got to do to those. But we're going to go ahead and start with the base because that does take a little bit to dry. And I don't know if I've done it yet. This is kind of just like anything about the base of that psychophage. This came out kind of sloppy and I wasn't really happy with it. This model was a pain to build, but yeah, we'll kind of do something similar. I don't really show all of it in the video because it's, you know, kind of the same thing. I've done it a bunch of times, but start with this AK Dark Earth diorama paste, which is like, this is my favorite stuff to use. I love this stuff. I love that it comes in a nice big thing too. But we'll get that there, and then we'll throw a couple little rock features, and then we'll let it dry, and then we'll get to the ard coat, the gloss finish on the armor, on the black armor parts. And I put a couple of these like cork-like rocks on. Then I do some more base materials later at the end, but I don't show it. It's just, I eventually get to it after this stuff dries. And I do make sure to wipe off the excess around the rim. So now we're doing the ard coat. Ard coat is going to go in all the black parts, pretty much. And it does take 2 coats to do. The first coat, usually you can see a lot more of the brush strokes, and it's a little splotchy. It's not always kind of where you want it as far as the gloss. That's where I want it as far as the gloss. But I'm going to go ahead and do the armor panels and things like the tail, the back, the shins, the hoof bits, the thighs. Gonna do that with all the back of the hands and all the bladed weapons. Gonna do the guns, the black on the guns as well. Whole lot of parts that get this. And like I said, it's gonna be 2 coats, but when we come back, I should have that all done after the transition here in a bit. Alright, so here's where we're at, with things pretty much just about done. Just a couple little more details I want to do before we finish. We're going to kind of run through some of the parts, maybe throw some together. Here you can kind of see that the gloss on the weapons. I did do none oil on all the metallic bits as well. I forgot to record that bit. So that's kind of why I'm going over some parts that don't have any of the gloss black. And I just did the none oil just on metallic parts. Later on I do add some flocking and little bush effects to the bases to break up that brown. I just forgot to record it, that's all. Here's that other base. Kind of keeping them all in line with the Space Marines and the other Tyranids I did. And the main body. And I wish that lower half of the body they would have put 2 of them in the box. That way you could glue that together and just have one big stack of magnets under the actual upper body. And here's some builds so far where we're at. Here's the Hive Tyrant with the Carnifex arms. As well as the big sword and whip, obviously. Then we're going to switch to doing this up. That's my new favorite thing, the True Blood effect paint from Army Painter, their war paint line. This is my first time using it, and I'm in love with this stuff. I'm going to go through and put it on a bunch of other Tyranids and some other models. This is one of those things that you just kind of have to play with and kind of figure out like how you want it, and definitely a less is more type of approach is what I did. Sorta. Pretty much did it. I didn't do it on like every single little sharp pointy bit that's all over them, but I did it on like the bladed weapons. Like you're seeing here. Doing it on just the leading edge. Kind of swiping back. Kind of the downward angle. Did it across the top. This is like his big cleave sword. And this stuff is awesome, man. Went and I did it on both the heads. Like he's gored a couple people with this big head spike. And I put it in a couple other places, like his tails, like the little pincher things on his tails. Did it on all the swords. And here we are. This is pretty much, I think this is it. Getting ready to go and show you some final stuff. I'm just showing you where I did some of the blood. That like little mouth thing on the end of the tail. And we're going to go through a bunch of the parts and do some assemblies. And that's pretty much it. If you've enjoyed the video so far, be sure to like and subscribe. I got more Warhammer stuff coming, as well as probably trying to get a Gundam done for next week. Special one I got. Here's the other weapon arms. So the rest of this video is just going to be going through all the parts and doing a couple different assemblies and some comparisons to some other models I've done. Here we got 2 of the Swarmlord web blades. Here we got the other 2 Swarmlord blades. Kind of wish the Swarmlord blades were bigger. I don't know, I feel like they're kind of small, but he does have 4 of them. think the next video I'm going to try and get done is the bike chaplain for the Space Marines. It's both the heads. I thought about doing those chin bits in metallic as well, but I ended up not. So here is the Swarm Lord version. And it looks awesome with all those bloody bits, all the bloody wet blades and stuff. Thought about keeping them as that version as I've displayed. Also, I was really happy with how these Carnifex arms came out. Those might be my favorite parts. Here he just as a Hive Tyrant. And then I'm going to build them how I have them displayed on my shelf. Which is, of course, flying Hive Tyrant. Winged Hive Tyrant. I should probably add some blood to the end of that gun, too. I think that'd be pretty cool. But yeah, so now I'm going to grab a couple other models and do a little side-by-side comparisons. Like I said, if you enjoyed the video, like and subscribe. And in the commentary here, but see y'all in the next one.